If there's one thing you should know heading into a video where we tell you cards you should be selling, it's that nothing on this channel is financial advice.
And today, we're going to talk about some cards that are at all-time highs, cards that you probably should not be cracking open your old piggy bank that was made by a nice friend of yours that was gifted to you. We don't want to break the piggy bank that you've had ever since you were 9 years old today. Don't do it for these cards. The video starts myong-ja. Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat.
For a limited time, join the Patreon at any level and receive a free Jake or Joel Neon Dynasty sticker while supplies last.
Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. Today we're going to try and make you some money, or at least save you some cash. But before we jump into talking about some cards that are just way too expensive in our opinion, please consider hitting that like button or that subscribe button by the end of the video if you like it. We know it's a YouTube dead meme, but it really does help us out.
One final reminder, nothing on this channel is financial advice. Take all of it with a grain of salt.
Big shout out to our sponsor, Dragon Shield. Before we get into this, if you want to shop for Dragon Shield products on the internet, use the link in the description below. Jake, let's jump over and take a look at our first card. All right, Wargate is up first. Y'all, Bant is back. It's not called Bant anymore. In fact, I haven't even memorized what it's called yet. That's where my head's at. But
it's called pushing... the brokers. It's a broker
there you
or something.
Go. There you go.
They're like bankers.
They're like bankers. And what they're doing with their banking prowess is making the price of Wargate go up significantly. This Bant card lets you just grab a permanent. Any permanent with CMC X or less. Put it into play, then shuffle your library. Any permanent. Jake,
it's not even that good, dude. It's a sorcery. Here's the thing about this card. I get it. Like, we have stuff like Green Sun Zenith. We like tutors. Cards that go find exactly what we want. They're very good. But Wargate is one of these cards where, like, it has been bulk forever. You have to pay Bant and then X, and you have to... I mean, it's like a big mana tutor. It's not like playing a demonic where you just get to pay one black and one other and go grab exactly what you need. This is... I mean, it does go onto the battlefield, so that's good. But it's just, I don't know, it's a little top heavy. I don't see the hype, but I see where the trend is going, and it is up.
This is a card, Jake, that won't hold this price through a reprint. This is a complete scarcity play. I mean, you can look at some of the latest sales there.
Yeah.
But with Wargate, you've got the two versions, Alara Reborn and Mystery Boosters, and that is it. And so right now, this to me is a hype price. I would go check your Alara Reborn bulk if I were you. Not financial advice, but unload these Wargates, yo. This is just like free MTG dollars sitting around.
This is just way overpriced. Way overpriced. There are not enough copies in existence. All right, so let's talk about a card that came out of Theros Beyond Death, Shadowspear. Low mana value. It only costs 1. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has trample and lifelink. 2 very relevant abilities. And then it also has this. Permanents your opponent's control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn for 1. This doesn't need to be equipped in order to use that ability either. It's a very, very strong card. Very strong.
Yeah, it really is crazy strong. And I think that people know it. I mean, look at the price of this card. You're talking debuting around $9 or $10, and it's only gone up since then. But look,
that looks like a stock that I want to get involved in.
I'm telling you, even recent sales history, these are all selling for between $20 and $25 straight up, and it's only been climbing in price. Shadowspear is one where if you haven't already gotten yourself a copy, I wouldn't be tripping over yourself trying to get a copy of this right now. I think that you've got 2 major sets coming out this year, Double Masters 2 and the Brothers War, where artifacts that are high power are going to be what they use to drive sales of that. This could show up in something like Mystical Archive, but Artifact Edition in a set like Brothers War, where it's going to be Urza and Mishra going against each other. And if you don't care about the lore, that just means that a lot of artifacts are going to be used to try and kill each other. So Shadowspear, I think, is just...
Secret Lair?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Associated secret layers for sure. We just saw with Neon Dynasty, we got some of those legendary lands that were like $150 or more for their foil versions. in a foil treatment in a secret layer that you could just straight up click buy on. So this is a card that I think they know the reprint equity, they know the strength of this card, and I think we'll see it again very soon. And it's just not, I don't want to be spending $25 for this card.
Yeah, you don't want the card to get to like the $40 or $50 range, because then it's out of range for a secret layer. Is what kind of like what we've realized. What we've noticed about secret layers is they all have a pretty specific price range. So you're not going to see like a Force of Will or a Mana Crypt or something that's way over the top around the $100 range. They tend to put cards in that are around, you know, 30 to 40 when it's all said and done.
Mox Opal, Jake, this is another artifact, and it is in this video for the exact same reason that Shadowspear is. This is a card that, you know, was down as low as the 50s. If you're looking at it over a year, got down into some of the 40s. You could have picked this up for like mid 40s there for a little bit, but like all free mana, anything with the word opal in it, it is just going to climb over time and get more and more relevant. Add a mana of any color activated if you only control 3 or more artifacts. Artifact set coming out later this year. This is a huge draw to sell packs. This card's getting up into the 60s. We're seeing $70 on some listings. I think that we're going to see a cool version of Mox Opal by the end of the year.
I mean, it is a Mox, dude. And that's the thing, is like, it's so easy in Urza decks, anything artifact centric, to turn on Mox Opal. It is exactly like a Mox in those type of decks. It is what it is. It's a fantastic card. It's banned in Modern. I think it's legal in Vintage, legal in Commander, so the card is mostly driven by Commander application. I mean, that's what's crazy about Mox Opal. I do know that it's legacy playable.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Modern, ban, Legacy, Vintage, Commander.
Yeah. So it's crazy. It's crazy how they ban it and it still creeps back up. People still want it, and it's just free mana. When you're playing something for 0 and you're getting mana from it, I mean, we see the power of that all the time.
CEDH is another place where this is highly applicable. A lot of commanders, you know, that are artifact based in that realm are going to want this as well. You're seeing foils up into the 80s, and you're seeing regular price ones, you know, near mints going around 65 or 70 nowadays. So if you can get a lower price than that and you're comfortable with it, obviously take everything we say in these kind of videos with a grain of salt. We just think right now these are super high and the reprint equity is there that we might see it.
Next up, we have Aetherflux Reservoir. This was a card that came out of Kaladesh. It was bulk when it first came out, if you could believe that. 4 for a big artifact. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. And then you can pay 50 life, and this is a colon. Aetherflux Reservoir deals 50 damage to target creature or player. So anytime that you combo off, we were talking about this before the video, so like Storm, where you're casting a ton of spells, and then you're able to just pay a bunch of life, eliminate a player, people are going to figure out how to bust this card. And this card is very strong, as we've learned over the years, is like, since Kaladesh, this card has risen from bulk to win condition.
The major role that this card fills is a finisher for a combo deck in Commander. If you can Storm infinitely, which is not that difficult to do in Commander, you can gain infinite life, pay 200, pay however many life you need to pay, ace all of your opponents, and you're just winning the game outright right there. I think that this is one where the price getting up almost into the 20s, you know, we're going to be there in the next 6 months to a year if this doesn't get reprinted. I feel like this is a card that they know they need to reprint in some way, and that reprint, since this is a rare, is going to tank this card. This is going to go down a $5 to $8 card, which is what I really think it is as a finisher that can go in any deck because it's colorless, but it still needs to be built a certain way for you to come across this as you're playing a game and be able to utilize it.
That's right. Now this card, this is kind of funny, but this card in September of 2016 was as low as 92 cents, and then it crept up by October to $1.50, then plateaued into December of 2016 and got below $1 again. So we can just see 2016 to 2022, we have a lot of time since Kaladesh, but it's crazy to see like what a generic colored card can do. It goes into any deck, it's combo centric, and it's the kind of card that people figured it out, right? it came out, it was jank, and now years later, people are like, please get me that Aetherflux Reservoir.
I was surprised to see Void Winnower at the top of like price charts as I was researching for this video, because this card was just announced in a secret layer. You can just straight up buy a copy of this. Now, the art of the secret layer copy may not be for everyone, but at the very least, you're getting some other cards alongside it. And if you've watched our secret layer review also on the channel, go check it out if you haven't. You'll see that Void Winnower was one of the major money pieces in that individual drop. I do think, though, that at 15 bucks, you know, normally with these, like, these cards are too expensive, sell these, don't buy these videos. Normally we aim above $20 or like a significant amount of increase from a bulk rare up to like 5-10 bucks, you know, that's huge. But for Void Winnower, for me, I was just surprised to see that this price had just risen and risen and risen and even like spiked over the last week or two, because people suddenly became more aware of it, I guess, with the secret layer drop, because it's a pretty brutal 9-mana card. I just think that right now, if people are paying these prices and you've got an extra Void Winnower around, it's not a terrible time, since it's got some attention on it, to unload it. And if you're trying to buy one, just consider the secret layer. So this is less of a don't buy this individual version. Go check the secret layer first if suddenly you're like, I really want a Void Winnower.
Yeah, fun fact, mountains and mountains and mountains of Battle for Zendikar were opened when they announced the expedition lands. So Void
and that was
Winnower,
just by Jake. It was only Jake that opened mountains of it.
God, I opened tons and tons of it. I did open like Scalding Tarn, but the thing is the amount that I opened definitely outweighed the expeditions that I pulled. So definitely not the way to go. This card had an all-time low of $1.76.
Yep, 9 mana.
Because there was so much. Yeah, it's 9 mana, but we've kind of learned that Eldrazi are very attractive in EDH over the years. You know, that's
well,
like,
and there's every single set, there's a new way to cheat some card from your library into the graveyard or from the graveyard onto the battlefield. And that's only going to expand over time, those resurrection options. You know, like weird effects that let you put it onto the battlefield for just a turn, attack, sack it after that. You're going to get a lot of these 9 heavy CMC creatures, heavy hitters, that are going to get some juice. And yeah, it's just interesting that this card has sort of spiked alongside a secret layer being released.
And this card is so mean.
Oh,
I mean, it really is so mean. Like anything that turns off spells that you can cast and like the way blocking works, very brutal card. The TLDR, free spells are good.
Free spells, everybody.
This card is crazy. This card got a reprint as well in Modern Horizons 2. Came out in Modern Horizons 1. It got the reprint in Modern Horizons 2.
That was a special version, yeah.
A special version. But what's interesting about this card is like we're just starting to see it now. EDH wants this. Anything that's able to answer something instant speed for free, players are going to figure out a way to break it. And the other thing about it is this card is highly playable in Modern as well. There are people that really love Force of Vigor. This card was bulk when it came out, if you could believe it. And I do remember people speculating and saying, oh, Force of Vigor, don't sleep on it. And now we are here and we realize that was not a card to be slept on.
Well, it was only a matter of time before Modern, you know, came back around to having some artifact enchantment decks that were worth a crap. And then as CEDH grows in more and more popularity, these kinds of cards are going to become more and more desirable and more scarce and more expensive. Jake, it's interesting. I mean, I'm looking at people speccing light play copies for 44, buying 5 of them. You know, near mint copies going for 42, 3 at a time. This is a card that people want multiple copies of it for the constructed formats. You know, everybody doesn't just want a single copy like us Commander players do. And so this is going to dominate high prices for a while. I don't see anything on this card that is like tying it to a plane or a certain set mechanic. This one for me, in a premium reprint set like your Master sets or Horizons sets, this is the kind of card that can see a reprint in any of those. And so at this $40 price range, you know, it's not getting a ton of talk right now, but when you start getting into the $60 range for this card, people are going to start asking pretty vehemently for a reprint, especially because you want multiple copies in constructed.
All-time low, $3.75 on it, and I remember copies selling for as low as $1 and $2. It was just bulk when it first came out, and now you just see it. And it came out alongside, Force of Negation,
Right.
which was like, that was where the real emphasis was. Everybody was like, oh, Force of Negation. Then you have the red force and the black force and the white force, kind of lackluster. Nobody really cares.
Days Undoing from Magic Origins is at an all-time high right now. We're up into the mid-30s for the foils on these. We're looking at about 20s for the market price of this card. Jake, it's a 3-mana wheel effect. If you're not familiar with wheel effects, normally they manifest as discard your hand, draw 7 cards, and it pretty much forces everybody to do the same thing. When you can control the effect and you've built around the effect, it can lead to huge imbalances in the game. And so as far as card advantage goes, and so it's not surprising to me, Jake, that a wheel effect that has only had one printing outside of the list, which if you've ever watched any of our videos, we don't count the list as a printing from all intents and purposes. But Days Undoing, a wheel effect at Mythic of a 1 printing card, this is the kind of card that was bound to start getting up into high prices. And now that it's getting maybe some play in Pioneer, it's kind of popping up there as well. How many copies is that deck going to want? That could drive the price. I mean, look at these sales here. Just over the last day, it's the 13th as we're shooting this. I'm looking at people buying 2 at a time, 3 at a time, 3 at a time, 2 at a time, all at around $30 for your near mint copies. We're looking at foils going, wow, they're even flying there too. Yeah, I mean, it was only a matter of time, and this is at a price now where it needs a reprint.
Bulk Mythic, dude. It was as low as $2.50.
Wheel effect, bro. Anything that says draw 7 cards, insane.
Came out $20, and then it tanks to $2. And then has crept up since 2016 all the way to an all-time high of 31 for the regular.
I mean, in January, this was a $3 card. This is totally being driven right now by play in Pioneer and some constructed formats.
And what's silly about it is you're looking at a 3-mana sorcery here, and it's just kind of obvious, right? It's like, this card is strong. It's powerful.
I think people get freaked out by end the turn. That's what people got freaked out by and didn't like.
I think so as well, but when you play this alongside a Narset Parter of Veils, and now you're the only one drawing cards and everybody else is like,
any amount of cards that say you can play sorceries at instant speed now, any variation of the multitude of effects that'll let you play stuff with flash, Days Undoing at EOT, now you're firing off with a full grip of 8. It is a single printing mythic that says draw 7 cards on it. This is just, when you're looking for cards that maybe will pop one day, this should definitely stick out to you. Exactly. Low CMC, draw 7 cards, build around the rest of whatever the negative effects are.
It was only a matter of time, right? It's like...
It was only a matter of time.
It was only a matter of time. From bulk to badass. I love to see it. All right, next up, let's talk about a card that we were crying and crying forever for a reprint, and then they finally gave us a reprint in Ultimate Masters, and now it has crept back up. This card combos with Vizier, and now it is comboing with a new card that's coming out of New Capenna. Joel, you could tell us about this card.
Luxior Giada's Gift, or Giada's Gift, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, is a 1-mana legendary mythic equipment. It says equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on it. It also has some other text, but that's all we really care about. Devoted Druid taps for a green, and you can put a -1/-1 counter on Devoted Druid to untap it. Oh, when you do that, if Luxior is attached to it, it gets an additional +1/+1, and you can just infinitely stack -1/-1 counters on it. Tap it, it infinitely grows with your Luxior attached to it, and makes you infinite mana for a 2-mana Elf Druid and a 1-mana equipment with a 3 equip. It's getting absolutely jacked by this card, man. This equipment has made this card skyrocket. $2.
Sell it.
Oh, dude. I mean,
it's almost financial advice.
This is almost financial advice.
Get rid of this
check
card.
Your Ultimate Masters bulk, find that box, go through it, find the uncommons, pull all the Devoted Druids out, list them, and they will sell. I'm looking at copies that are selling right now. I mean, $8, $9. This is, you want to like list it as soon as you see this video. Seriously, you got to sell this card. This is the one that perfectly encapsulates the entire idea of this series. Is a card that goes from $2 to $16 out of nowhere. and we know it will not retain that price.
Oh yeah, well what will happen is they will print it again in a master set. It will get the bauble, it will get the whatever, the Path to Exile, where they just print it again. And this is another card that I think is prime real estate for any kind of secret lair product. You know, it's gonna pop up on the list eventually. It's great for any Masters product, and like we said, we have Masters products coming up. We have a new Commander product coming out. Probably not gonna show up in the Commander product, but very interesting card. But it is a Druid. It is a Druid. You know, it could possibly show up in the D&D related. Druids are part of that world. But yeah, it's a card that I definitely wouldn't hold, especially as an uncommon.
Rin and Seri Inseparable is our legendary dog cat meme card that has ridiculously popped as of late. Look at this 3-month chart. Look at this 1-month chart. You're looking at prices just absolutely chunking up. Near mint version, $30. The new Capenna cards are getting previewed. They got a new card printed called Jenny Faye, Jetmir's Second. It says if you would create one or more tokens, you may instead create that many 2/2 green cat creature tokens with haste, or that many 3/1 green dog creature tokens with vigilance. That card alone is making this card come back to the forefront. And I think also people are realizing the Wizards of the Coast has been giving token strategies so much juice over the last 6 months to 12 months. It's been kind of insane how much token strategies are being pulled to the forefront, and everything's creating tokens nowadays. So Rin and Seri Inseparable, you mean you're using Jenny Faye to stack a bunch of dogs and cats onto the board, using that activated ability to deal damage equal to number of dogs, gain life equal to number of cats, and that's any target. And it's only a buy a box promo. We're talking scarce here. Didn't open this in packs.
Yeah, this is crazy. This card got as low as $6. And it's one of those things where you're like, wait a minute. It's a dog. It's a cat. It has a toolbox of effects. It's a nice low mana value. You're getting a 4/4 for 4. It's kind of like, what were we doing? These were prime for the picking when they were like $6. Now you have essentially 500% gains on this card if you had been buying them that low. Pretty crazy card, and it kind of makes sense. Like you said in the beginning, it's a meme. Dog, cat. People love the cat deck. We learned from Aboro when that deck came out.
Right.
That commander deck is extremely expensive now since it came out in 2017. So this is just kind of that hindsight is 2020, but it's almost like this could have been predicted. So now let's talk about a card that has spiked because of a new commander called Ishin, which is getting multiple combat triggers. So the big deal is here, you're getting 2 extra combat phases instead of 1. So the turn that you exert this, if you have Ishin on the battlefield, you're going to get 3 combat phases.
It's a mythic from a set that was highly opened, but that set is the only printing of it. It is a card that at 3 mana can give you additional combat steps. And I'll tell you, this Combat Celebrant card has been a combo of attacky decks for a little while now, pretty much since it came out. There have been different ways to exploit the ability, just have it untapped so that exertion means nothing. That's a big way of getting around its drawback. But then Ishin just hit Commander like a bomb, and we are still living in the aftermath of Ishin completely blowing up the prices of cards with attack triggers. We're just still living in it with Combat Celebrant. You can almost see this card was going down, falling out of favor, and then right around the preview of Ishin, right back up it goes. And so this is one where Exert is tough. This is one of the few on the list where it getting reprint would have to be a secret layer most likely, because a lot of times you're not going to see set specific mechanics outside of that plane. And so maybe when we go back to Amonkhet, we get something like this, but I think it's more of a chance that we see this in a secret layer, outside chance a pre-constructed commander deck.
In 2017, this card got as low as 89 cents in the market price. Since then, it has increased in price nearly 8 1,800%. That is just insane gains over time. And it really does speak to these different archetypes in Commander, combat steps, extra combat. What happens when a new commander comes out? What does it do to this bulk mythic? And we're seeing it. We're seeing exactly what happens. You have Ishin that just spikes this up. You have a card that was a nice low mana value. It was 3 for a 4/1 that has a very strong ability on it. It's not like you lose the game when you lose the ability. You have to keep the creature around. It only has a 1 toughness. But if you're able to do that, this card is very, very just brutal. Just absolutely brutal.
Someone in the world is the fine owner of 14 French foil copies of Combat Celebrant. Pretty interesting. Love looking at the latest sales.
Dark Steel Plate, anything like that, like protect this, keep it alive, and you're going to probably win the game with it.
So Serenity is a low CMC enchantment that says during your upkeep, bury all artifacts and enchantments. There are so many tokens being produced right now. A lot of those are artifact tokens, clues, food, treasures. Those 3 have just risen to so much prominence recently. Forcing all of your opponents to get those off the battlefield, for basically saying use them or lose them, is not that bad of a deal in Commander. Past this being a low CMC card that is legal across multiple formats, it's also the kind of card that when artifacts and enchantments start taking over an entire meta, this is the kind of card that people will turn to. It's recurable, it's low CMC, enchantments are easily brought back, bounced around, all sorts of fun stuff. I think that it's cool that we've got the Weatherlight version and a 6th edition version, but actually we've recently been seeing that the 6th edition version is more expensive than the Weatherlight version.
Dude, what's crazy about this card is Legacy really wants it. It's played in Reanimator, it's played in Death and Taxes. So this is like a card where I think like people are perking up to it, and I think it has everything to do with that mana value. It has really good coverage. It's like way faster than a Niven Ural's Disc and does pretty much the same thing. It's not doing it for creatures, but there's so many different ways to kill creatures. I think the important thing here is its coverage on the artifacts and enchantments and that low mana value. And the fact that it's an enchantment itself makes it very difficult to answer. And so kind of puts a little bit of a pause on the game until this card is answered, right? Nobody's going to want to play anything. If you are playing this in Commander, it's probably going to come back around to you before anybody plays any more artifacts or enchantments. So that's really cool. And then what's sweet is that stuff like Sun Titan grabs this, right? Because it is a permanent in the yard, so you're able to get this back easily.
I know somebody's itching right now to go, how can this not be financial advice? This is definitely financial advice. Get on down to those comments and let us know.
It is not financial advice. What you watched was a movie just now.
It was an entertaining Marvel movie. Oh, we needed that. Yeah, there you go. It's a Marvel movie.
Thanks for hanging out.